Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Michelle Saeed, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Theodore Shchiele, known as Bear Shchiele, the founder and principal consultant of Bear Shchiele Consulting, joining us. Based in Atlanta, Theodore is an author, leadership coach, and altruistic advocate who empowers military veterans and underserved communities through tailored coaching and business development. And with a passion for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, he's transforming career pathways and workplace cultures. We'll explore his founding story, how Bear Shield Consulting drives empowerment, and his vision for scaling this mission-driven firm. So with that being said, let's dive in. Theodore, welcome to Founders Future.
Yes, listen, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm grateful that you had me on your show. And for the most part, I just wanted to say you guys call me Teddy. I'm not going to go by Theodore until I run for president, okay?
I love that. Sounds good. Let's kick things off, Teddy. So let's go back to 2019. Take us back to the beginning. What specific problem within the leadership coaching or career transition landscape, perhaps around barriers for underserved groups, inspired you to start Bear Shield Consulting?
Let me make one. Bear Shchiele it's my DBA, but I'm also the CEO of Shchiele and Associates, which I'm working with other consultants. But Bear Shchiele is just me as the consultant. But I'll tell you, 2019, I was retiring from the military, and most of the time when you retire from the military, you got to start on these entry level jobs, even though you've been in operations, you've been in leadership roles, you've been in more situations than the average person can handle. So what I wanted to do was to come out and test the market as far as C level jobs, to get into one of them and transition smoothly over from leadership in the military to
Mhm.
leadership in the corporate world, and it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So I immediately saw a need that needed to be met. And that's when I established myself as a consultant, wrote a book about a process in which I coined myself called The Circle of Growth. And in The Circle of Growth,
Mhm.
2019, I dove into personal and professional growth at the same time. That a
Mhm.
person like myself in the military, or a person who has an education based background, or a person who just wanting to transition from one career field to another, didn't have to start at the bottom. There are
Mhm.
certain things that you can learn and to navigate this path and not go through some of the headaches such that people such as myself went through. So the process in which I created not only opened the door for me, but many other people like myself.
Love that. I love the fact that your own personal experience is your unique lens and that
Mhm.
resonates with anyone that you connect with. Now let's talk about really how Bear Shield's consulting offer has evolved since you started. And I know you have the sister company as well that you're launching. How have your services, such as leadership coaching, DIB training, and your clients, how have that changed over time?
Essentially, my first target audience was people getting out of the military, retiring, or people transitioning, or your firefighters, your police officers, people in that service industry, giving them an opportunity. And what quickly changed is for me, it's my family. I want to go a little bit away from the what happened to how it happened.
Right.
So, just to tell you a background as far as the family side of things, my father comes from a real religious background and very artistic. My family on my dad's side, they are so amazing, truly extraordinary. The politicians, the preachers, the people are just influential in their own right. And on my mom's side, they are more the hustlers. And when I say that, I said in a good way. People misunderstand the term hustler. What I mean is, you give them an adverse situation and they'll find whatever way they can legally to get out of it and to thrive in it. My grandmother sold ice cream cones, candy, all kinds of little treats and knickknacks out of her house as a hustler. These two families that I was married into, my mom's family and my dad's family. My family who can hustle and create anything. My dad's family who has the political background, really sharp, artistic. really religious, and you take them, they're both so extraordinary. But what about the people like myself? What about
Right.
the extraordinary people? There's nothing extraordinary about me. So I joke all the time about being extraordinary. So what about people like me? Out of the 8 billion people on earth, more are like me and not as extraordinary as either side of my family who were just trying to get that same piece of the American pie as everyone else. So, what grew my business is making sure my niche market stayed those people who want to achieve, who want to thrive, who want who wants to grow and have that ambition to grow, who may not have investment capital, who may not have people supporting them, who may not come from that type of book, like with the Kiyosaki who speaks on Rich Dad Poor Dad. That
Mm.
book was more addressed toward the people who have investment capital, not
Yeah.
people like me, the extraordinary people.
I love that. I love the fact that it's philanthropy in a lot of ways. You're giving back,
Yes,
helping the community, and really staying true to the roots at the end of the day. And that's what makes it so honestly incredible. Now, I want to learn now about the present day. Let's get into the nuts and bolts for some of the listeners and even some potential clients that want to find out more about how you can help them. Walk us through how today the business generates revenue. What's the core offering now with one-on-one coaching, some of the business development consulting, and how do you structure it for some of your clients like veterans or some of the smaller businesses?
that is a great question. Sometimes the easiest questions are often the most difficult to answer. And you hit me with a very easy question, but it's very difficult in regards to my primary focus is leadership. But with leadership, most people don't even realize they need it because it's such a broad spectrum. So,
Mm.
how I make sure that I meet the need and serve the need of so many different people outside of those that may not even know they need leadership, consulting, or coaching is I break it down into two specific groups. And with that, just want to break it down to it's focused or customized. So, with a focused engagement, it's more designed for your visionary. Your visionary is typically your CEO, the person that has great ideas, but it's not the type of person that gets down into the weeds. They're not the type of person that gets into the actual detail. So for that, I stage most of my consulting and coaching based upon that. But it's another process. It's another path as well. The customized or the custom engagement. And with the custom engagement, it's more about your implementer. Your visionary is the person with the great idea. The implementer is the person that can actually go take that idea and turn it into digestible, quantifiable, operational flow types of things. They can take it and they can turn it into something tangible. So,
Mm.
how I work with either or, and some people are a blend of both. So, it's just a matter of how do you need me to work with you?
Mm.
So that's the first part of working with Teddy. The next part is understanding what you need in specific. So, with that being said, there are five major components I work with leadership development. Leadership development, what I offer is a leadership impact blueprint. So, when you get a coaching from me, you not only get that coaching or consulting, but I offer you a deliverable of a leadership impact blueprint. Career acceleration, I create a strategic career map.
Mm.
Business strategy, we work on your strategic business playbook. Business process improvement, we do an efficiency audit.
Mm.
For productivity and performance, we work on your personal performance system. So
Mm.
again, I gave you the deliverable and what I offer, but just to break it down to where it's simple, leadership development, career acceleration, business strategy, business process improvement, and productivity and performance eval. So these are the ways that I break down my consulting. And why it matters is in my first book, I coined a system called the circle of growth. In
Mm.
the circle of growth, it works on self awareness from a personal side, assessing from a professional side. That's the first step. And it goes down seven to 10 steps of efficient evaluation of a person. But that was
Mm.
just giving you an example of the first step self awareness, and assessing. So it goes through 7 to 10 steps, finding out how to fine tune you as a person, both personally and professional. So it's, and as we call it, a circle of growth, because it's a never ending process of self evaluation, professional evaluation, and growth.
Love that. And I love the fact that you really broke down the deliverables now, even for some of the listeners in the audience, that they are looking at how to improve business productivity and solve for some of those inefficiencies. So you really do come in, it sounds like you provide the value up front rather than just gatekeeping or hiding that. And it's really about relationships. Yeah.
I love it. You hit the nail on the head.
I love it. No, I really want to learn now, like building on a lot of your LinkedIn thought leadership, your own network in Atlanta. How are you currently acquiring some of your clients right now? Which
See, let me stop. Not Atlanta. Atlanta is one of my ports. My main office is in San Antonio,
yeah.
but I also work out of West Virginia, out of Atlanta, out of a small section of Louisiana. But my primary base, so I don't want you to do my San Antonians wrong. They're going to say, Teddy, you didn't bring us out and you
That's
live here primarily.
all right,
So
we're gonna give San Antonio a shout out. I love it.
yes, yes, yeah. But what I wanted to do is create a major hub or an office in major spots throughout the United States where I can work within the East Coast, West Coast, the Midwest, and the South, and work with different people, different consultants to actually meet that need. I know I've done my research on what you guys do, so I know you completely understand. There's a need for people have a need for leadership. They have a need for development, especially with this generation, with the Gen Y and the Gen Zers and this next generation of thinkers. They have so much creativity, but
Yeah.
bottling that creativity up into something strategic. That's
Yeah.
the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is really. How do we bring those opportunities even more to some of those individuals, right? And creating that visibility and those accessibility points. I love that. I want to learn now about kind of what I was saying on the acquisition side. How are you currently acquiring some of your clients right now? What's been the most effective with leveraging multiple networks that you have? Some of the things you're doing on LinkedIn as well. What has been the most effective for landing some of your clients for coaching and consulting?
What I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to not believe, but it's the God honest truth.
Yeah.
When I first started, my background in the military is in marketing. And what I've done so much in my life is marketing. You build a funnel, you go through awareness, you go through the whole interaction or traffic, and then you go through the conversion. Everyone knows the marketing funnel. But just to be honest with you, to be humble with you, I try to lead with the spirit of positivity. So, as far as inorganic lead generation, and for the audience that doesn't understand what that is, inorganic is your lead magnets, your social media promotions, anything where a person doesn't naturally know about you or naturally come to you. So, I don't do a lot of inorganic marketing. I've built my foundation in the past. So now I simply get my leads from LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has a portal to where you can put your service on LinkedIn and people can find your service and they can reach out to you. And I tell you, most may think that it's only through inorganic traffic can you grow. But if you do your job well, you're humble, transparent, and you show the vulnerability of being human, people will find you through word of mouth. They'll hear about you, they'll know about you and your services. And right now, I'm top 10 in the United States as far as leadership consulting, and I'm a top contributor here in San Antonio, a member of the Chamber of Commerce here proudly, a member of a lot of nonprofit organizations and the Foundation of Foot here in San Antonio, in San Diego, Atlanta, West Virginia. I make sure that I'm putting my footprint into these communities, not just through consulting, but making myself available. So I gave you the long version, but the simple version is organic lead generation, making myself available. I'm here so people know where to find me. I have a large following on social media of people that used to ask me simple questions, and now I gotta charge them. I have to charge them now, but it first started with me just answering simple questions.
Yeah. It starts from that, really providing value, really just beyond just what that can translate into, like how you can start to serve them in a lot of ways as like a leader. And I love the fact though that you touched on those notes. Now, for some of the listeners and just in general, like I know you tried inorganic traffic as well, and you're primarily relying on LinkedIn for generating a lot of your leads. What's been the reason behind straying away from inorganic? For some of the founders right now, they are probably experimenting, seeing if it is going to be a good fit. If you can share your own personal experience between both, what would it be?
A lead magnet, most people understand, or a marketing funnel, or different consistent models in which we measure success using data. That's great. I do that. I'm not going to say I don't. But the inorganic approach, and the reason that I stray away from it more so is that you tend to get people, and this is how the funnel works. You start with 300 people that may be interested. You
Mm,
work your way down to 100, they may want more information until you break it down to the actual sales and you get 10 people. I
mm,
do it a little bit differently than that. I want you to want what I offer. So I make what I offer available. So there's a lot of ways in which through seminars, through one-on-ones, through coaching businesses, through coaching different leadership indexes such as the military, fire stations, police officers, making myself available through so many communities to where it's for me, it's more bang for the buck. I'm actually making an impact. I'm not sitting waiting on a computer to spit out a name that once that name gets to me, I got to go through 300 of those names to get one person that's interested. That's to me great. But for a person who's already met success, that's not a great value for my time.
yeah.
Just a matter of just making sure that you do what it takes to make you happy. Now, for a person that feels like they want to sit in front of a computer, they want to understand algorithm, they want to understand how the matrix of Facebook works as far as connecting with the Google Analytics, as far as
Mm,
connecting with the back end with your pixel and going through all of the different concepts of marketing. That's great. I'm not telling you not to do it, but if you want to be one on one, face to face with people who really want your services, make yourself available.
yeah.
Those people will find you a lot quicker than you looking for them.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you shared that relatedness and what's worked and what's not working right now. It's always good to really just build the relationships organically and really just connect more on that holistic level. Now, with that being said, would love to learn more about your approach to sales when it comes to some of the strategies that have been effective in converting some of those opportunities into long-term clients. Tell us more about if you're leveraging a lot of your advocacy right now, your recent certifications. What are some of those strategies? And also, are you just doing this on your own, or do you have other team members involved in the conversations?
Absolutely. I've built my team. 2018 was just me. I
Mm,
was the person that was doing the operation side of things. I was doing the marketing, doing the sales, doing the phone calls, the cold calls, the leads, the whatever generations. And to answer the first part of your question, what I do as far as sales is I use Pipe Drive. Just to be transparent, I'm a tech guy. I'm a nerd. So although I believe in organic growth, I use a lot of automated systems. All of the things that I used to do, I now through Pipedrive, Zapier, and a bunch of other automation tools. I've streamlined my business, did a business mind map of what's important, went through the process and scaled it down to things that I can do, things that I can get someone to do who may not know what I do in specific, a secretary type of person, and then the rest automated. That's the way I started in the beginning. The DBA, I was able to grow my business, and now I have 4 consultants that work for me, and the business is growing, and it's LLC now, Shchiele and Associates, to
mm,
where we have an operating port here in San Antonio. Again, started working out of Atlanta, started working out of San Diego and West Virginia. So we're starting to grow, and I have 4 consultants, one in each one of those sections that work for me. And what makes this unique is not so much the sales pitch or
mhm.
how we convert sales, but what we offer. I want to always make sure availability is at paramount. So with each person that works for me, even if it's just a secretary taking the calls, availability. So we track or measure KPI, key performance indicators throughout my business as far as availability, the first thing. And you're probably saying, how does that relate to sales? This is how: vision, value, and mission. The foundation of your business is based upon those three things. And if everybody within that organization is completely on board with that, it shows and it resonates. So when a person is going through your pipeline and they're going from one section to another, no matter who they talk to, they're getting the same information, consistent, and it's taking them where they want to be, as opposed to them feeling like they're being strung along through the process. So I gave you a very long answer. Again, I like to talk. I'm sorry.
No,
But
I love it. You're not skipping the details.
yes, but the simple version of it is follow up.
Mm.
Follow up or follow through is the king of sales. If you do not follow through or follow up on what you say you're going to do, you lose more credibility, more sales, more service, and more of your business than you could ever even imagine. So with that vision, values, and mission, making sure the last thing is everybody in my organization now understands that we follow through and follow up on everything that we said we're going to do.
Love that. The power of follow-up. And for some of the listeners tuning in, I'm sure they're probably scared or hesitant, or they don't tap into the fact that there's probably thousands, if not millions of dollars in opportunities within their own pipeline. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to go out there and find new opportunities and restart that process. It's all about nurturing those relationships and nurturing the people who come through and they're interested. And everyone is so busy, but top of mind awareness. So love that you shared it.
Yes, yes.
Now, with really the foundation you've built, it's clearly strong. The growth is there. If you could share like a bottleneck that maybe stands out for Bear Shield Consulting, and even this is for organization, what would it be? Is it reaching more organizations, scaling your own team and capacity, developing out more on the fulfillment side? What's like your top of focus to keep the momentum going?
Are you familiar with the cash flow quadrant?
Yep.
Okay. For the audience, I'm going to give a very simplistic view of the cash flow quadrant. Either employee, self-employed, business owner, or investor. So, in understanding where you fit into that quadrant is most important and most impactful. So, what I say is the superpower in which I grow or find success in is understanding to get where I'm at now, I must first, and I had to learn how to be self employed to get my behind up out of the bed every morning and get up and go out and work and understand that to put food on the table, a self-employed person, had to do this every day, repeatable. So the difference between a self-employed person and then a business owner is self-employed person is responsible for getting themselves out of the bed every day, getting up, getting going, and making sure that they find success in their own efforts. Business owner takes a system of things that are successful, repeatable, and measurable, and they create that system from that. So, what I have done in my life is I took those things from being an employee with the military, coming out of the military, retiring, being a self employed person, finding out what works for me as a self employed person, transitioning that into, don't just rush into being a business owner, but transitioning that into being a business owner and understand successful, measurable, and repeatable. If you have those three things, no matter what, you're going to be successful. And a lot of people, we go from that just to cover all grounds. Most of us think that we can invest and we understand how to invest. The smartest investors understand systems, understand how systems work. So they can look under the hood of your business and they can see, is it successful? Is it measurable? Is it repeatable? And they'll know what to invest in. So going through that cash flow quadrant, you don't have to be just one or the other, but mastering where you're at in life makes you more equipped to be a successful leader. And being a business owner, people that work for me understand that completely. I set them up with a system that works. And what makes me work is that I take that system and we're always working on it. We're always fine tuning it. It's successful, repeatable, and measurable. So we make sure that the parts of it that needs to be refined or fine tuned is constantly being worked on.
Mm, love that. Now, systems are one thing that's totally overlooked sometimes, and it's the difference between predictability and sustainable revenue. If you like, let's get a bit hypothetical because I really love your passion for really serving underserved communities. If you had a genie in the room, Teddy, and all of a sudden you have all these unlimited resources to keep up with this momentum, what would you implement immediately to accelerate the growth of Bear Shield Consulting today?
Oh, that's a great question. And I love that you were able to ask me something where I can show my visionary side as well. For me, the thing that I would do is create throughout all of the major cities in the United States a building to where people who are interested in business can rent office space relatively cheap,
Mm,
easily, affordably, without long-term contracts. In there, have a setup for them to where there's somebody there, always there as a resource or reference to help them through the process. So not only are they there around other startup businesses, but since this building will be set up in all different locations of the United States, all the same way, you have resources in the global market all over the United States that are there for you. So not only the startup market, the 5 to 10, the people that's getting ready to sell, you're all in one major area. And it's affordable and it's convenient and it's an open forum building to where all people, because you look at it like this, the backbone of every society is the small business.
mm,
Here where I live in San Antonio, 30,000 of the businesses here are small business. They employ 400,000 of the employees that work here in San Antonio.
mm,
So when you do the numbers, when you do the math on that, just imagine if we had something to where we had a foundational building everywhere under one umbrella that's focused only on teaching them how to be successful,
mm,
focused on their success. Because in a capitalistic society, to sum up my thought process in this, and the reason that I would do that with that genie,
mm,
in a capitalistic society, it's not about galvanizing the masses. It's about taking advantage of the masses. It's about that middle class and lower class funding our fortune. What
mm.
if we would have fund their intelligence? What if we would have fund their inspiration, their motivation? Show that piece of pie ain't just something on TV, but it's something they could grab, take, and eat as well.
Mm. Yeah, wow. I'm so moved right now because absolutely, I think that's one of the things that holds a lot of people who think about it and it's in their mind from actually putting it into play is really the resources at the end of the day. It's like, where do I start and where is that hand that is extending and letting me hold on? And you're that source. And I love the fact that you're thinking a lot about that in such a giving way. It's all about giving back to the community. Now, with everything you've accomplished, we're on this topic now, your thought leadership and really a lot of what you're doing on the coaching side, like what's top of mind for growing Bear Shield Consulting over the next 6 to 12 months? What does that runway look like for 2025?
The runway looked like what Theodore Teddy Bear Shchiele Consulting is one person. Okay, taking my focus, everything that I've built, this empire that I've built by myself, taking it and making Shchiele and Associates that much bigger, something to where my system of the circle of growth is repeatable, successful, and measurable, and other consultants are using it, not just me. And have a bunch of consultants teaching it to a bunch of young business owners, Gen X's, Gen Y, Gen Z, whoever, teaching this system because what's different about my system than any other system in the world is it is guaranteed to work, measurable, quantifiable, and it works. And when I say different, it works on personal growth and professional development at the same time. Only system like that. Entrepreneurial operating system doesn't do it. The BI triangle doesn't do it. I can go down the line where it may work on one part of you, but
Mm,
not both parts of you. So 6 to 12 months from now, what I envision is 10 to 12 other consultants working out there in the world to spread the word or the knowledge and the understanding of the circle of growth in which you, any one individual, can find your success story, can find your dream, and fulfill it. You can not only find it, but you can take the necessary steps to accomplish it.
Absolutely. No, I love the fact that you're really driving a mission-driven community at the end of the day, and that's through your network and really bringing on like-minded individuals that share that mindset. So I'm super excited just to follow your growth, and I'm sure the listeners tuning in, they're inspired as well by the system building and the advocacy for that you're putting out here with us. Now, really, one more question before we hit the lightning round. How do you see the leadership coaching and DEIB industry evolving in the coming years, especially with a lot of your focus on underserved groups? And how is Bear Shield Consulting and Chilean Consulting positioning itself for that type of future?
Well, that's a great question. Where I see it evolving is moving forward. So many people have the title of consultant. So many people have the title of coach, and you have the different certifications. Like myself, I have a Harvard certification in leadership. It's great to have that certification. It's great to have that background. But where I see leadership, coaching, consulting, or consulting as a whole transitioning over the next 5 to 10 years, people are complex. I see consultants having to consolidate resources, come together, and instead of a lot of mom and pop consultants, you're going to have a lot more larger groups coming together, transitioning, understanding that I may have to help you with leadership, but that's okay. Let's take the same person and bridge them along the way to business consulting. Let's
Mm,
take the same person and point them in the right direction as far as a life coach. Let's take the same person to point them in the right direction as far as a marriage or relationship consulting coach. Let's pool our resources, come together, and I feel in the next 5 to 10 years, if
mm,
the market is volatile right now, so
yeah.
we don't know what these tariffs are going to do, we don't know what the stock market is going to do, but what people tend to do in the service industry, we get hit the hardest and we get hit the most impact wise because when people are scared to spend money, they don't really tend to go find services. Services such as consulting, they fall by the wayside. But
Yeah.
in the next 5 to 10 years, to combat that, if a lot of consultants realize that they may be a subject matter expert at
Mm,
one thing, they may need to team up with somebody who's a subject matter expert at everything and give that actual client a holistic view of self improvement. And I
mm,
think that is what's going to be the biggest change and the greatest impact in the next couple of years. A lot of people are going to have to consolidate. And at Shchiele and Associates, you can come right on over here, and we're already working on it. So you can keep a large percentage of the pie as far as your salary, but you work under one umbrella, and we all do this together.
I love it. For the listeners, you heard it from the man himself. Teddy is in your corner and he's going to make sure that you take home the most from it, right? And then that's
Yes. Yes.
now for the listeners, entrepreneurs, and founders, they're looking to follow in your footsteps. What's one tool or resource, maybe like a coaching tactic or a networking strategy that's been a game changer for you and really driving your own business and driving your growth?
Can I name drop?
Absolutely.
I was working as executive director in research for a research company fractionally, and I was doing a great job. It was my one of my first real jobs outside of retirement. I
Mm,
met a young man named David McLennan. He's one of the smartest entrepreneurs I've ever met in my life, one of the smartest business owners. And let me tell you what this guy did. And this is why it's important to pay it forward. I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad one day, and we were in a meeting. He could see it on my desk. And he started asking me questions. And I had no idea what the BI triangle was. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad 1,000 times. So what he did for me and what he did to help me and change my life was he started telling me, if you read a book and you don't understand the glossary or you don't understand those words, what's the point of reading a book? This man, Dave, I call him Super Dave affectionately. This man, Dave, took a year every Wednesday, met with me via Zoom, not only taught me the BI triangle, the entrepreneurial operating system, a multitude of different agile, scrum, just so many different things. He took the time to actually teach me, to actually show me. So before I ever even jumped out on my own and left and did my own thing, he gave me a ton of knowledge, information, and understanding about the business world, what to be prepared for, how things work, how to navigate certain things as racial discrimination, how to navigate stuff as religious discrimination, how to corner the market no matter where you're at, to not make an excuse, but to make an adjustment. I'll say that again, not make an excuse, but make an adjustment so that you're successful no matter where you're at. And this guy, Dave, wherever you're at, I know y'all making a bunch of money for a bunch of different people. Just wanted to give him a shout out on here because if, and again, I gave you the long answer. Short answer is mentorship.
Yes,
Find people that you can actually reach out to that's already done it and find out what mistakes they've already made so you don't have to make the same mistakes.
absolutely. Yeah. No, such a powerful note to end off today's episode. Really, on that note, it really wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Petty, thank you so much for sharing your remarkable journey and your passion for service with us today, your roots in advocacy to really founding Bear Shield Consulting and now scaling and bringing more team members on. You're empowering so many different communities through leadership and inclusion and really that those accessibility points as we discussed. I'm super excited to follow the journey along and I'm sure our listeners are as well. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find some more resources and insights at closers.io where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class sales systems. Until then, keep climbing and we'll see you all on the next one.